At 2:30 in the morning, while most of Washington slept, a single desk lamp still burned inside the War Department. Papers were stacked in uneven towers, maps covered the walls, and at the center of it all stood a man few Americans could have. Picked out of a lineup, thin, sharp-eyed, and moving with the quiet urgency of someone racing against history itself. His name was Bayard Rustin. You probably know the dream. You've heard the voice of Martin Luther King Jr. echo across the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. You've seen the photographs of 250,000 Americans gathered in 1963 for the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. You've been told it was a spontaneous eruption of hope. It wasn't. It was engineered, and the architect was almost erased from the blueprint. Bayard Rustin shaped modern America in ways most textbooks barely whisper about. Without him, the civil rights movement might have taken a very different path. Without him, nonviolent protest might never have become its moral backbone. Without him, that famous dream might never have reached the world. But Rustin had two problems. He was openly gay in 1960s America, and he had once been associated with leftist politics at the height of the Cold War. In a nation obsessed with conformity, those facts were political dynamite. Rustin was born in 1912 in Westchester, Pennsylvania, raised by his grandparents, devout Quakers who believed deeply in equality. From them, he inherited a radical idea for the time, that every human being, regardless of race, was equal in the eyes of God. That belief would guide him through arrests, beatings, and betrayal. In the 1940s, long before Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat, Rustin was already challenging segregation. He rode interstate buses in the South, deliberately violating Jim Crow laws. When he was arrested and beaten, he did something remarkable. He didn't strike back, he sang. He later said that violence only strengthened injustice. Nonviolence exposed it. Years before most Americans had heard the name Mahatma Gandhi, Rustin had studied his methods carefully. He believed that disciplined, strategic nonviolence wasn't weakness, it was power, and he was determined to bring that strategy to the United States. In 1956, a young Baptist minister in Montgomery, Alabama, was leading a bus boycott. He was charismatic but inexperienced, thrust suddenly into national attention. That minister was Martin Luther King Jr. King believed in nonviolence spiritually. Rustin knew how to organize it practically. Rustin traveled south and quietly began advising King during the Montgomery bus boycott. He helped transform moral passion into structured resistance. He explained how to maintain discipline under provocation, how to use media attention strategically, how to frame nonviolence not just as a tactic but as a philosophy. King later adopted these principles as the foundation of his movement, but here's the twist: many civil rights leaders didn't want Rustin anywhere near the spotlight. In 1960, a powerful congressman threatened to publicly expose Rustin's sexuality and past political associations to discredit the movement. Under intense pressure, King distanced himself. Rustin resigned from a leadership role to protect the cause. Imagine building the engine of a revolution and then stepping out of the car so someone else can drive. Rustin understood something few others did. The movement was bigger than his ego. 3 years later, the civil rights movement needed a massive, unified demonstration in Washington. It had to be peaceful, it had to be organized, it had to be flawless. There was only one person in America who could pull it off: Bayard Rustin. Despite the risks, movement leaders brought him back not as a public face but as chief organizer of the March on Washington. What followed was nothing short of logistical genius. Rustin coordinated transportation for more than 250,000 people in an era before cell phones, social media, or even widespread computer use. He arranged portable toilets, medical stations, security marshals, sound systems powerful enough to reach the back of the crowd. He negotiated with politicians and police. He drafted the program, and he did it all under constant threat that a single scandal could destroy everything. The night before the march, officials feared violence. The federal government had troops on standby, hospitals prepared for mass casualties. Rustin remained calm. On August 28, 1963, the sun rose over Washington and the crowd came. They came by bus, by train, by foot, black and white, young and old. They came for jobs, for freedom, for dignity. And the march unfolded almost perfectly. No riots, no chaos, just history. When Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his "I Have a Dream" speech, the world changed. But standing behind the curtain, listening as the applause thundered across the National Mall was the quiet strategist who made it possible. Rustin never gave the famous speech. He didn't need to. The success of that day helped push forward the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. These laws reshaped modern America, outlawing segregation and protecting voting rights for millions. Yet, as the movement evolved in the late 1960s, tensions grew. Some activists began to reject nonviolence, embracing more militant rhetoric. Rustin disagreed. He believed that sustainable change required coalition building, labor alliances, and political engagement. He wasn't always popular for that stance, but he remained consistent in the 1970s and 80s. Long before LGBTQ rights became mainstream political issues, Rustin spoke openly about gay equality. He refused to hide who he was, even when it cost him influence. He understood intersectionality before the word existed, knowing that justice divided against itself would never stand. When he died in 1987, many newspapers gave him modest obituaries. His name was absent from countless history books. The man who helped choreograph one of the most important demonstrations in American history faded into the background. It would take decades for broader recognition to catch up. In 2013, nearly 50 years after the March on Washington, Bayard Rustin was posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by Barack Obama. It was a powerful symbol and openly gay black strategist finally acknowledged at the highest level of American honor. But perhaps the deeper recognition lies elsewhere. Every time Americans organize a peaceful protest, every time nonviolence is used as a deliberate political strategy, every time coalitions form across racial, religious, or economic lines, they are echoing Rustin's blueprint. History often celebrates the voice at the microphone. It forgets the mind behind the movement. Bayard Rustin didn't crave fame. He believed in outcomes. He believed that justice required planning as much as passion. He believed that love, strategically applied, could bend the arc of history. And in many ways, modern America, with its civil rights protections, its evolving understanding of equality, its continued belief in peaceful protest, bears his fingerprints. The desk lamp in that late-night office eventually went dark. The papers were filed away, but the movement he helped engineer kept marching. Sometimes the most powerful figures in history are not the ones who stand center stage. Sometimes they are the ones who make sure the stage is strong enough to hold a nation's dream.